What's up, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of the Rebel Yankee Podcast. I'm your host, Jan Backus, and this is a podcast where we put God first. We talk about how he's moving in our lives and what we're doing to keep him in the center of everything. Then we get into guts and guns, where we talk about topics on grit, self-defense, fitness, firearms, hunting, and any other cool lifestyle items. We got some awesome guests lined up for you that have some cool testimonies and that are into really, really cool things. Short bio on myself. Full-time, I work for a transportation company in Commerce City, Colorado, where I do people operations, safety, a little bit of HR stuff. On the side, I own Full Armor, Firearms, and medical training. We are a defensive handgun and concealed carry firearms instruction company. And we're also starting to teach stop the bleed classes and CPR. We sell med kits and also are getting into selling AEDs. So I've been holding on to this name, Rebel Yankee, for about 5 years now. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it. But when the idea of this podcast came up, and quick shout out to Trevor Harvey and Kay Miller with Team Awesome Podcast Studio. Without them, this wouldn't be happening. But when the idea of this podcast came up, it was a no-brainer for me. Right away, I knew it was going to be the Rebel Yankee Podcast. So what is Rebel Yankee? And the way that I came up with this is there are a lot of opposing or conflicting or things in my life that just don't seem like they would mix. For example, number one, I was born in Texas, and right there, that makes me a rebel. And I was raised in Queens, New York. We moved there when I was 2 months old. Northerners are Yankees. So that's where I got the name Rebel Yankee. I was raised in the city, but I love doing country stuff, camping, hunting, stuff like that. It's a Rebel Yankee. I was born a Jew, and now I'm a believer and follower of Jesus Christ. That makes me a Rebel Yankee. Disclaimer, I'm not a pastor, nor do I want to be, nor do I believe I am one. I'm just a dude who loves the Lord, and my opinions are just that. They're my opinions. Your sin is no sinnier than my sin, and when I'm talking on this podcast, I'm talking to myself just as much as I'm talking to anybody else. I am not perfect. So let's get into how God is currently moving in my life and what I'm doing to put him first. Currently, I feel like God is taking over more and more, and I'm surrendering more. I've had some recent life changes, and recently I find myself living out a place of contentment, and that brings me a lot of peace, which is super, super valuable to me. It's not to say when I say content, it doesn't mean that I don't want more, because I absolutely bust my butt every day, and I scratch and I claw and I get up and I try harder to build a better life for myself. But when I start to go down this rabbit hole of, man, I should be doing this, or why don't I have that, or look at this person, he has this, or I should be in this area, in this level of my life at this time, then I just say to myself, just as a reminder that if I'm living under God's will for my life, then I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be and where I'm meant to be, and I'm grateful for that. I'm thankful for all the blessings in my life. Last week, I was talking to a buddy at work, and he's had some similar life changes happen, and he tells me, he sends me a text, hey, I'm sorry things aren't going your way, but I'm here. We are both going through a lot, but I know we will both be okay. And I get it. Like, I understand what he was trying to do, and I appreciate him, and it feels good to know that he's in my corner. But for me, I don't feel what he described. I feel blessed all the time. James 1:2-4 says, count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let that steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. Man, I could just meditate on that. You count it all joy, show your faith, and you will lack nothing. Interestingly enough, recently, I saw an interview with, you won't believe it, but it was Stephen Colbert being interviewed by Anderson Cooper, who, I'll just say it, they're on the left. And Anderson Cooper was talking to Stephen Colbert about something he said, and Stephen Colbert explained we need to be thankful for our existence. And if we're thankful for our existence, we need to be thankful for it all. We don't get to pick and choose what we're thankful about. It's either all or nothing. And that reminded me of a quote I heard Mark Montoya. He's a UFC striking coach. He has this acronym he uses, and it's called AGE, and it stands for attitude, gratitude, and effort. And those are three things that we are in control of all the time. No matter what's going on, we could have a good attitude, we could be thankful and grateful, and we could put effort into what we're doing in our day. Here's something I'm doing currently to put God first. It took me a little bit of getting used to. It seemed a little weird at first, but it does make me feel connected first thing in the morning when I do this. When I wake up now, I'm becoming more aware of God's presence. I invite Him into my day right away. As I consciously start breathing in and I listen to my breath, I thank Him for the breath in my lungs. Then I thank Him for the blood pumping through my body. I start focusing on my eyesight and I thank Him for the sight of my eyes and the sound in my ears and, of course, the emotions that I feel. I also feel like God is moving through this podcast as we're always going to put God first here. If one person hears something on this podcast that brings them closer to God, then it's a win-win. But this podcast will also bring me closer to God as I got to be dialed in, to bring in good content and good guests and tell you what I'm doing in my life to put God first and how He's moving in my life. There's a few scriptures I thought of for this podcast that I want to talk about in today's show. The first one changed my life and my walk with Christ. The second one I just learned recently, and it really helps me navigate through the first one. First scripture is Galatians 5:1. For freedom, God has set us free. Stand firm, therefore, and do not submit again to the yoke of slavery. Man, I just love this verse. When I heard this verse, it was like I got punched in the face. And what does the verse mean by freedom? The ESV study Bible will tell you it was freedom from Jewish ceremonial laws and traditions, but not from the obedience of God's moral standards. David Guzik will say, if we live in bondage to a legal relationship with God, it isn't because He wills it. God pleads with us to take His strength and walk in freedom. What does it mean to be free to you? In this world, freedom can look quite different than what Paul was talking about. In this world, freedom can look like freedom to do drugs and drink alcohol. It can mean freedom to be promiscuous. It can mean freedom to lie, cheat, steal. Freedom to do what you want when you want to. If you ask people on the street what freedom is, I think most people would tell you doing what I want when I want. That's what it means to be free. Honestly, though, that sounds like slavery to me. Remember, we have been set free from these things from Christ, not us. We didn't set ourselves free. Christ set us free from these things. Imagine a thief going to prison for bank robbery, and he's guilty. He did it. He's robbed banks, and the president comes along and tells him, listen, you didn't earn this and you don't deserve it, but we're going to set you free. He pardons him from the crime of thievery and bank robbery. He sets him free. And imagine that thief goes out and he starts robbing banks again. That just wouldn't make any sense. That's wild. But we do the same exact thing. The next part of the verse. Stand firm, therefore, and do not submit again to the yoke of slavery. Standing firm takes effort. It's active. It's something that we have to battle because there's always going to be temptation. You could be set free from something and still live in slavery. And it's funny because the things that we live in bondage over, or if you think about like the sanctification process when you first come to Christ, for me personally, it was easy to cross certain things off the list, like, oh, murder. Well, I'm not murdering anybody, so we could cross that off. Adultery. Okay, well, I'm not cheating on anybody, and I'm not causing anybody to cheat. I could cross that off. sanctified. And you just go down this list. Oh, honor the mother and father. Yeah, I love my parents. That's easy. And then you get to the things that you have a relationship with that aren't so great. Could be pornography. Could be a lustful lie. Could be sexual immorality, right? Everybody has their own things that are on this list. But you get to these things like, oh, wait, sexual immorality. Wait, you don't want me to have sex before I'm married? Well, I'm not there yet, right? And you start, as you become more sanctified, you start tackling these things. But man, if I could do it all over and get started earlier, I would. 2 Timothy 2:4 is the next verse I wanted to talk about. And this verse says, no soldier gets entangled in civilian pursuits, since his aim is to please the one who enlisted him. And man, this verse just grabbed my attention the first time I heard it, or the first time it was explained to me. Actually, Jefferson Bethke, he's the one that broke this down at a men's night or a men's conference that I was at. And he did it really nice. And he explained that when they're talking about soldiers in this verse, they're talking about legionary Roman soldiers. And a Roman soldier back then had to make a 20-year commitment. Not like today, you enlist for 4 years, 20 to 25 years actually. David Guzik again says, a soldier must give up many things, some bad, like pride, independence, self-will, some good, his home, his family. Yeah, that's right. If you were a Roman soldier, you couldn't have a household. You couldn't have family. You would have to leave your home and your family. Okay? The things that entangled the soldier might be good or bad for the civilian. Some is good, some is bad. But as a soldier, he must not ask if they are good or bad. He must give up anything that gets in the way of being a soldier, serving as commanding officer, or that might make them less effective. There are things in my life that I face daily, whether they're good or bad, they're just not for me. I'm in a place where I'm like, oh, you know what? Good or bad, that's not for me. I could use drinking as an example right now. Some people will tell you, Christians will tell you, hey, drinking is not good. You shouldn't drink. And then I have other Christian friends that say, hey, you know what? Like, drinking's okay. You could have a beer. You could have, one drink, or you just can't be drunk. But I'm not in this debate, because whether it's good or bad, it's just not for me. And it's just not for me because it makes me less effective. And I despise being less effective. That's like kryptonite. Vaping is another thing I struggled with for a long time, nicotine, right? I don't do that anymore. And I've quit a couple times, but I am being strong. I'm standing firm on the nicotine. I don't need it. I don't do that anymore. It makes me less effective. It makes my finances less effective. It makes my fitness less effective. Junk food, okay? That's another one. I don't really have a big sweet tooth, but I'm a guy that's been able to eat what he wants for a long time, but I can't do that anymore. My metabolism may have slowed down. Cookies, like crumble cookies. I love me a crumble cookie. Some donuts, right? I remember I started this food program and I knew in my head right away, I even said it out loud, I'll be on a food program until somebody brings crumble cookies into the office, and then all bets are off. I'm going to eat that. And when I found that, because it did happen, somebody came in with the crumble cookies and I partook in some crumble cookies. And when I found that, man, I wish I would have stand firm. I wish I would have stood firm, and not ate that cookie. You have to train your brain and your soul that it could be more satisfying for you to stand firm than for you to give into temptation. The satisfaction of eating a cookie doesn't compare to the satisfaction of me doing something hard, standing firm, and not having that cookie. I know it sounds funny to talk about cookies and Bible, but these are the ways that I apply it to my life. Speaking of junk food, let's talk about self-defense and fitness. Two things I'm very passionate about. As a defensive handgun instructor and a fitness enthusiast, I try to be in shape, and I try to be a hard target, a threat, dangerous to the enemy. If you ask any man, he'll tell you that he would die to protect his family. But will you stay alive to provide and protect for them? Is your health so diminished because of the choices that you're making that you could have 100 guns, but if you can't walk up a flight of stairs, what is that? It's my belief that if you consider yourself a self-defender and a protector, you need to take care of yourself and your physical fitness. You should train to be your very best. Not my very best, not the guy down the street's very best, but your very best. Having $10,000 of guns and ammo, but not being your absolute best physically, whatever that looks like, it just raises some questions for me about how serious of a self-defender are you? How's your cardio? How's your strength? What are you eating? What are you putting in your body? Are you capable of running? Can you pick your kids up and move quickly? Can you fight and protect your wife? If everything works on you, meaning you don't have any, defects, or you're not handicapped or deficiencies, if everything works on you and you have trouble walking up a flight of stairs without getting winded, allow me to encourage you to make some changes in your life. I know men that don't drink because they say they need to be sober-minded, protect their family. Okay, I love that. That's amazing. But what else are you doing to be at your absolute best? Train hard. Eat like it counts. Push yourself. Get uncomfortable. Some of you probably heard about the act of violence that took place recently in Boulder, Colorado. This is where the Egyptian national allegedly used a flamethrower and Molotov cocktails to set people on fire. These people were at a Jewish event supporting the hostages in Gaza. So it was a pro-Israel event where 12 people got injured, and the attacker stated he wanted to kill all Zionist people and had this plan for a year. He planned this attack out for a year. So imagine you're on Pearl Street or, whatever neighborhood where people gather where you're from, and there might be some live music, there's people running, things are happening, everything's nice. You're having a great day, and all of a sudden you look up and this guy has a improvised flamethrower setting people on fire and throwing Molotov cocktails at people. How would your brain compute that? Would you even think it's real? I can imagine it would take a minute to feel like, wow, this is actually really happening and this isn't fake. Then what do? Are you prepared? Do you have your family with you? What do you think you would do if you were a witness to this? Are you prepared to fight? Would you take the guy out? Or would you just be a good witness? Are you prepared to help the injured? What do you have on you? Do you have a first aid kit? Do you have a trauma kit? Do you have your weapon on you? Are you willing to die to protect these other people? And this is a personal choice everybody has to make. For me personally, if I had my family with me, right, I would probably get my family out of there and be a good witness. If I don't have family with me, well, I'm probably going to try to save these other families. That's not the only crazy thing we got going on. Recently, we had the LA riots, or peaceful protests anywhere that turned into riots. Are you prepared to be caught in a mob? That's scary. A lot of people, they'll fight anybody one-on-one. But are you prepared to fight 10 people? What does that look like? Today I was watching, I'm sure you've all heard about the 100 men versus a gorilla, and they're trying to decide who would win. And the thing that I learned today was the gorilla is probably going to kill 50 people, but the gorilla's built for about a minute of intense action and eventually would be overpowered by the 100 men, by the mob. So if a gorilla could be overpowered by a mob, that me or you could definitely be overpowered by a mob. What are you going to do if you see an intersection blocked? You're driving down the road and you see trouble up ahead, they're blocking an intersection. Are you going to pull up to the crowd, honk your horn, and try to drive through them? Not me. I'm going to try to turn around and go the other way if I can. What if I can't? What are you going to do if they surround your car? If they surround your car and they're peaceful, that may be one thing. If they surround your car and they're violent, that's a whole different story. Are you willing to hit the gas? Are you willing to run people over to get out of there? Do you have your family with you? Or are you trying to get home to your family? Remember, you got to decide who you're willing to die for. If you're out and about and you get out and you get killed and your mission is to make it home to your family every day, well, guess what? You failed your mission. You're going to get out of that car? You're going to try to take them on? You're going to reverse? Have you put any thought into this as a self-defender? And remember, most people that you know, possibly even including yourself, will never win a violent encounter. Different people have different circles. If your circle is a bunch of fighters there, well, maybe most people may win a violent encounter. If you're a fighter, you too. But a lot of people the people you work with, the people that you see on the street, these people will never win a violent encounter. They don't have it in them. They don't know what it is to go to that dark place. The thing we could all master, though, is soft skills. Soft skills include situational awareness, avoidance. What is situational awareness? For those of you that don't know, it's simply paying attention. I'll break it down here for you a little bit deeper into these color codes of situational awareness, just to get you thinking a little bit in case you don't know about these things. But it's basically staying alert. So condition white, you're completely oblivious to your surroundings. People are being condition white in their homes, watching TV with their loved ones. I potentially am in condition white recording this podcast right now because I'm focused on this show. I'm focused on my notes. I'm focused on the mic. I'm not thinking about being attacked in this moment. Plus, I got good people outside the door here protecting me. The next condition is condition yellow. Oh, let me back up. Condition white, you'll see a lot of people in condition white outside in public. They're on their phones. Don't be that person. If you're out in public, if you're looking at your phone and you got your headphones in, you have no idea what is going on around you, and that's a bad place to be. You will be picked as a victim if there's somebody there that's meaning to cause harm. Next condition yellow, you're relaxed, but you're alert. This is where we live, right? When you leave your house in the morning, you should be in condition yellow, paying attention to surroundings. You're not hypervigilant, but you are aware. Next condition orange. You may identify a threat. Could be in a coffee shop, somebody's yelling and screaming. That'll put you in condition orange. You've identified a threat, but you're still paying attention to surroundings. And we'll dive deeper into this in future episodes. The next condition red. You've actually engaged a threat. There's a lot of ways to engage a threat. Could be verbal judo, could be empty-handed skills, could be force multipliers, pepper spray, things like that. Could be your firearm. And the last condition is condition black. Condition black, you're in a really bad spot. You can't make rational decisions. You're repetitive. You may have tunnel vision. Could be hyperventilating. Your muscles could be cramping. Easiest way to get into condition black is get caught in condition white. So I urge you, please pay attention out there. Train hard. Eat like it counts. Don't be distracted. Be effective. That's it for episode 1, everybody. Thanks for watching or listening. If you like this podcast, please follow the show and drop us a comment below. If you didn't like the show, well, don't leave a comment. Follow us anyway, though. Thanks for listening, everyone, and remember, stay aware and be prepared.